We're back. We're back. We're better than ever. I just needed to go for a walk. I'm like out of breath now because I ran from the, dang it. I went to cool off and it just did the opposite. And I'm like, and then if you like fish, you're going to like this. It has a fishy flavor. You guys, welcome to Rustic Joyful Food, where we make food for everybody. I mean, I don't know where that one came from. It's real food for real people. I'm not really a tagline girl, but we keep trying. I keep trying for the tagline. Anyways, it's Rustic Joyful Food. I'm Danielle Kartes, your host, cooking extraordinaire. Today we are actually doing something really special. I'm a huge salmon fan. And when I was pregnant with my youngest son, I feel like it's all I ever wanted to eat was salmon and broccoli. And my kids now really like salmon and broccoli. So we're gonna do sort of an elevated, very fun, simple recipe. So the first thing we're gonna do is make some bruschetta. And you might be thinking that bruschetta is only for crusty bread, but bruschetta is actually for fish and polenta. So the full meal today is a creamy Parmesan polenta. We're gonna sear off the salmon. If you have a thicker salmon, you can go into the oven. We're gonna do everything on the stovetop and work on that bad boy. And then we're gonna make the bruschetta and we're gonna add dill because I literally feel like dill is God's gift to us all. So let's get started. And we're gonna shop in my cute little pantry. So here's our tomatoes. We're gonna grab all of our herbs, move them on over here, and look at how cute. We're gonna make our bruschetta right here. I'm gonna pop all these guys off. They're so darling. One thing that I do love to do is season and sort of marinate tomatoes before we actually are ready to eat them. So I got a little assortment at the grocery store, and I find that these gold ones, even out of season, are absolutely delicious. So we're gonna slice all these guys up. And then I love extra texture. So obviously we're gonna use our Campari tomatoes. These guys taste so good. So yesterday during filming, it was a long day. I got upstairs, I rolled out of my shapewear, because you gotta get out of that as fast as possible. And you know you're like in the bathroom, you just roll it off. I was in a hurry to get my kids from their babysitter and all the things, and I just went home. And then you know how you wake up around 11:30 midnight and you're like, where's my shapewear? I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I did. And I got up and I looked at my bag and it wasn't in there. And I'm like, please, 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 please. No, don't let it be in the gorgeous castle of a home that we're filming in, because Annie is incredible and everything is so curated and gorgeous. And I was like, oh my gosh, please, Danielle, don't leave your grubby, sloppy underwear in the bathroom. So I got here this morning and I ran up to the bathroom to check and they weren't in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then I turned around, they were folded on the side table. And all I wanted to do was crawl into the corner and never emerge. So there's my horrible, embarrassing moment. And you know what's so funny? I feel like if the girls were in here, they'd be dying laughing, but it's just three dudes. And it's quiet as a church mouse because nobody, not a one of them understands. But you viewer, you know what that would feel like. And they're like rolled. Not even like daintily taken off. Anyways, I digress, but I had to share. Back to bruschetta. So this is what I love to do. So you've got all of your gorgeous tomatoes. You got to season them first. You got salt and pepper. We have this beautiful cracked black pepper. I want extra pepper because I want these to be really peppery. I want a nice bite. They're so good. More salt. And you can get the pink salt's actually like a little bit softer, so you can get away with a little bit more. Complements the sweetness. And then our garlic paste. I feel like we talk about garlic paste in every single episode. This is my favorite one, a nice, like a round, that's a good teaspoon, and really work that garlic all over the tomatoes. And you want this done before you add your herbs and your oil. And then I feel like your bruschetta is gonna taste so good. This is basically like the most delicious topping. You could take a big scoop of this and put it on a bed of lettuce. You could take this and put it on steak, chicken, anything. I mean, I love it. A little hit of vinegar is delicious in it. I mean, just start thinking outside the box. Like, what could I do with that? Where would that go? This is also really good the next day. I feel like the tomatoes, they get a little weepy. Like, you know how a tomato gets a little soft, but it doesn't taste bad at all. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside. It's gonna sort of marinate and hang out. And one thing I'm gonna do is top it with olive oil, because I know myself a good quarter to a third of a cup. You want lots of olive oil. And that's gonna make this gorgeous juice. Look at that. That's sort of like our vinaigrette all on the bottom. But no vinegar in it, so we can't really call it a vinaigrette. That's just our dressing. Okay, boom. So next we're gonna move over to the stove. We're gonna sear the fish and get the polenta started. Just don't put the part in there where I'm lighting it. All right, you guys, I did just wrestle with these and turn them on, but you didn't see that. The one thing we are gonna do is season up our gorgeous little fish with some salt. And here's the deal. Everybody says crispy skin, crispy skin, crispy skin. But I think you've met probably 2 people that enjoy eating the skin. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I like crispy skin. There's no problem with me and crispy skin, but I've actually never really cooked for a lot of people that love the crispy skin. So I actually always go flesh side down, and that helps the proteins from leaking out of the fish. And it just makes a really pretty appearance. Put a little olive oil in here. Make sure that it's nice and hot. And if your food is sticking, your pan isn't hot enough. So don't be afraid. Like, you can cut the heat on anything. Don't be afraid to burn it. Your family will still eat it. You make sure. It's not sizzling yet. If something's not sizzling, you're almost guaranteed to stick. So let's just give them a little beat. We feel hot? Okay. So let's lay our fish down. Yes, you want to sizzle. If you don't hear a sizzle, back up. Back off. We're gonna season the skin side, because if you do have somebody that likes the skin, that's absolutely fine. I'll show you. I just cook it second. No problem with that. And I love olive oil and salt and pepper. I know that feels really basic, but it's really delicious because we're dressing them up with all these garlicky tomatoes. You don't need a lot. And I feel like fresh wild salmon needs the very least amount of dressing. I love it. And so here we've got our boiling water. Let's turn this bad boy up a little bit for our polenta. We have some quick cooking polenta. I'm gonna add a cup in here. There's 5 cups of water in there, just in case you were wondering. We're gonna add our butter now because, yes, a whole cube of butter. A whole cube of butter. And I have this secret weapon in this beautiful little pot. Chicken bouillon. I love this stuff. It's absolutely magical. You can use chicken stock, you can use water. I've seen people use milk, but I go ahead and add, this one's reduced sodium, so it's nice and hefty. We're gonna do a nice big blomp. If it was the regular sodium, we would do probably half. So don't worry, don't worry. And I always take my little spoon. That's liquid gold right there. You have to just whirl him around a little in the water. Make sure you get all of the goods off. And then season them up really well. I like to put pepper in the beginning because have you ever noticed if you cook pepper a little bit longer, it actually gets spicier. And that's because when you crack it out and you have all the little pieces, you have the outward little hard shell, but the inside of the pepper is actually where you get the heat, which is kind of fun. So we want pepper in there boiling. And we want some salt. We're gonna let this little guy go. I'm gonna check my little salmons. And they're kind of sticking. So if something is starting to stick, don't get nervous. He's just not ready with the sear. He's not ready yet. Stirring up our gorgeous polenta. It is really pretty. This meal makes you feel good. Make sure that he's down. Let's check our little fish out. Don't be afraid. Loosen him up a little bit. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. And don't be afraid. I love a little fish spatula, but anything metal is great. If you're using like a little non-stick pan, you won't have this problem. Perfect. Look at that. And now for this side, I'm going to sear him off, and I'm just going to turn it down a little hair. There we go. Now I want the inside, the center of the fish to cook, so what I'm going to do is put a lid on. This is going to create a steamy little oven in here for me. A couple of things are going to happen with that. the skin won't be as crispy because what's gonna happen now is we're gonna steam a little bit because we're keeping all the moisture in, but that doesn't bother me because when I go to eat the polenta, I'm gonna put the fish on top and then I'm gonna top it with tomatoes. So I'm not worried about the skin getting crispy. So we're gonna do that to cook the inside and get a little whisk out for this guy. He's getting a little aggressive. When that happens, feel free to just move your burner back a little, cool it off. This is the thing about cooking, like you get to make the rules. Like this little pot doesn't own me. If he's really bubbling, that can make a person nervous. Polenta likes to splatter, look at that. You're like, oh, don't, look it. You own that pot. You move that pot back. Keep him cooking. And at this point, I want him on the lowest flame before turning it off. Low, 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 low and slow. And now we're gonna add our heavy cream out of this gorgeous pewter. So pour our cream in. And our cheese. And this is another thing with cheese. You want to wait till the very end with the cheese because it has a tendency to stick. I was doing this event with this sweet gal before, and she's a really great cook, and I was like, add the cheese now. And she's like, well, if you want it to stick. And I was like, what does she mean? And it come to find out that she meant if you put the cheese in now, it will stick around the sides of the pot. It's okay. You can work around that, but if you add the cheese at the end, you won't have any stickage. Like, what does it mean? Look at that. And this will cook and begin to thicken. Now let's check out our little beautiful salmon. Okay, that's amazing. So we're gonna turn that off. And look at this thicken up. I love it. Okay, this guy's gonna continue cooking. Our salmon's looking gorgeous. And our skin is looking good too. See, look at it, just slides right off. And don't be nervous if this happens to you at home. Your skin's sticking right there. So you can just move your little salmon over. There we go. And then you can continue crisping that skin up and you can serve it on the side if you want. But I feel like people watch cooking shows and everything is done so perfectly and there's all these swap outs and everything is gorgeous and you feel like, gosh, I could never do that at home. Well, you couldn't because you don't have 45 people helping you for dinner. But this is the cool thing. Like, this is what your food's gonna look like at home. I'm just a regular lady with kids and a husband and a real life, and I want you to cook. I want you to cook and enjoy it and make all the mistakes and see what you like. And if you never cook, I think that's the funniest thing. I get the most questions about cooking fish. I feel like I'll ruin it. You probably will on the first couple tries. I know I did. But don't be afraid. If your skin is a little bit smooshed up in the side, this is great. This, my friends, we would call chef's treat. It's perfectly crispy and delicious, too hot for me to pop right in my mouth, but the rest of the fish is looking gorgeous. And when you turn your pot down, your fish will release more moisture and your skin will magically just release. So when you calm down a little bit and you're not nervous anymore, the fish is with you, just like this guy. See? I lied. The fish is against me. Here's his skin. The fish is gonna do what he wants to do, and you're gonna eat it. It's also new pot syndrome. You ever get a new pot and it's like shiny and gorgeous, you just don't know each other yet, and then this happens on your show, but it's real. So the next frame is gonna be over here on a gorgeous pewter platter, and we're gonna serve up lunch. All right, here we go. So our salmon is cooked. It's not perfect, but it's perfectly delicious. It's not overcooked. I really think that's the only thing that matters, even if it isn't all gorgeous. Like, I just love a salmon that's not super well done, but obviously not rare. I mean, if you like that, there's nothing wrong with it. But here, oh, it's a little bit warm. Moving back. We're gonna touch on our cute tomatoes real quick. Look at this. And the one thing I do wanna do, we want dill and basil. You know what? Let's just use all of him. He's so cute. And wind them up. And these stems are pretty tender, so I'm actually gonna go to the back and slice those stems up first. Once they start to feel too firm, they're no good. But if they're tender while you're slicing through and it doesn't feel woodsy, go for it. And then you just wanna delicately chop the basil. The basil does not owe you anything, so you don't have to worry about really beating it up. Excellent. You want all these pretty herbs in here and more. Leave no herb behind. So pretty. And then just gently fold it in. This gorgeous herby salad. Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering. That always happens. I know you guys are gonna love this. Okay, gorgeous. So now we're ready and we're gonna plate our prettiness. So the nice thing about the polenta is it actually will really firm up as you plate it. So if you like your polenta a little bit more firm, don't worry. He's absolutely on the way. That's what she said. Never mind. Never mind. And then we're gonna get our pretty little piece of salmon and put that right here. And if you want a little crispy piece of skin, you know what, we'll start them out baby steps. Just a little tiny touch. A little tiny touch. And then we top this entire thing with this gorgeous herby salad. And it's just delicious. Look at this. Lots of herbs, lots of gorgeous salmon, little fresh, poke the polenta with some little fresh herbs. Also, I wanted to tell you guys, I love a bright hint of acid. So we're gonna take a little lemon juice, put it all over the top. We like to put just a little bit of lemon juice on top because the polenta is actually quite rich, but the tomatoes and the garlic and the olive oil, they play so nice together. So I love this bite. If we weren't on camera, we'd be shoveling it in. Okay, not just because I made it, it's so good. Look, we need a little hot polenta, a little juicy tomato. This is why we cook. Seriously, get in here. Use any fish. You can do chicken breast, a chicken thigh, even sausages with this would be great. But please, if you get a chance, try Copper River salmon. It's the absolute best. You guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for cooking fish, not perfectly. Thank you for entertaining polenta. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be a new family favorite. Until next time on Rustic Joyful Food, keep cooking and keep smiling. I'll see you soon.